Mr. Speaker, the big guns have lined up against H.R. 1207, the bill to audit the Federal Reserve. What is it that they are so concerned about? What information are they hiding from the American people?
I don't think the American people want Congress running monetary policy, and I think that's very, very critical for people to understand.
The screed is transparency is okay, except for those things they don't want to be transparent.
So that bill, people don't fully understand what that bill is about. It sounds like audit the Fed. It sounds like, well, let's look at the books.
Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke argues that H.R. 1207, the legislation to audit the Federal Reserve, would politicize monetary policy.
That's not what it sounds like. The Congress already looks at our books. We have many different layers of auditors. The GAO, the General Accountability Office, which is supposed to be doing this audit, already looks at virtually all of our activities, and the ones it doesn't, our financial books and our financial loans and so on, and the ones it's not looking at and where the taxpayer needs some assurances, we're willing to work with Congress to make sure that the GAO gets the information it needs. What people don't understand is that this bill would give the GAO the authority to audit monetary policy.
He claims that monetary policy must remain independent.
And what does that mean? That means that if the Federal Reserve decided a year from now that because of incipient inflation it was time to raise interest rates, that the Congress would say, the GAO is going to audit that decision. It's going to subpoena your materials. It's going to demand information from the members of the FOMC. It's going to evaluate your decision as a report to Congress. I don't think that's consistent with independence.
That is secret. He ignores history because chairmen of the Federal Reserve in the past, especially when up for reappointment, do their best to accommodate the president with politically driven low interest rates and a bubble economy. Former Federal Reserve Board Chairman Arthur Burns, when asked about all the inflation he brought about in 1971 before Nixon's reelection, said that the Fed has to do what the president wants it to do, or it would lose its independence.
I don't think that's consistent with independence.
That about tells you everything. Not by accident, Chairman Burns strongly supported Nixon's program of wage and price controls the same year, but I guess that's not political. Is not making secret deals with the likes of Goldman Sachs, international financial institutions, foreign governments, and foreign central banks politicizing monetary policy?
So who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries.
Which ones?
I don't know.
Bernanke argues that the knowledge that their discussions and decisions will one day be scrutinized will compromise the freedom of the Open Market Committee to pursue sound policy. If it is sound and honest and serves no special interest, what's the problem? He claims that H.R. 1207 would give power to Congress to affect monetary policy.
A considerable amount of evidence indicates that central bank transparency increases the effectiveness of monetary policy and enhances economic and financial performance.
He dreamt this up to instill fear, an old status trick to justify government power. H.R. 1207 does nothing of the sort. He suggested that the day after an FOMC meeting, Congress could send in the GAO to demand an audit of everything said and done.
The GAO is going to audit that decision. It's going to subpoena your materials. It's going to demand information from the members of the FOMC. It's going to evaluate your decision as a report to Congress.
This is hardly the case. The FOMC function under 1207 would not change. The detailed transcripts of the FOMC meetings are released every 5 years, so why would this be so different, and what is it that they don't want the American people to know? Is there something about the transcripts that need to be kept secret, or are the transcripts actually not verbatim? Fed sycophants argue that an audit would destroy the financial market's faith in the Fed. They say this in the midst of the greatest financial crisis in history brought on by none other than the Federal Reserve. In fact, Chairman Bernanke stated on November 14, 2007 that, quote, a considerable amount of evidence indicates that central bank transparency increases the effectiveness of monetary policy and enhances economic and financial performance, close quote. They also argue that an audit would hurt the value of the U.S. dollar. In fact, the Fed, in less than 100 years of its existence, has reduced the value of the 1914 dollar by 96%. They claim H.R. 1207 would raise interest rates. How could it? The Fed sets interest rates and the bill doesn't interfere with monetary policy. Congress would have no say in the matter, and besides, Congress likes low interest rates. It is argued that the Fed wouldn't be free to raise interest rates if they thought it necessary. But Bernanke has already assured the Congress that rates are going to stay low for the foreseeable future, and again, this bill does nothing to allow Congress to interfere with interest rate setting. Fed supporters claim that they want to protect the public's interests with their secrecy.
I don't think the American people want Congress running monetary policy, and I think that's very, very critical for people to understand.
But the banks and Wall Street are the opponents of 1207, and the people are for it. Just who best represents the public's interests? The real question is, why are Wall Street and the Fed so hysterically opposed to 1207? Just what information are they so anxious to keep secret? Only an audit of the Federal Reserve will answer these questions.
So that bill, people don't fully understand what that bill is about. It sounds like audit the Fed. It sounds like, let's look at the books.
And we all remember from The Matrix that choice. You can take that blue pill and just coast through life, going to the shopping mall, watching TV, and not knowing what's going on. Or, if you thirst for the truth, you take the red